There we go. All right, what's going on, boys and girls? So we are here with another weekly live stream for GameSphere. So for those that do not know what this show really is, GameSphere is a live stream where the community gets to pick from a variety of games that we look at and play, and they get to decide which ones to basically torment me with, or ones I might actually like, because it's really the first impressions. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna sugarcoat whether or not I think something's good, bad, or in between. And that's really the whole concept of this show. Is like these streams. Is the community has a say, and we get to have some fun. See me be a better gamer than Das Geek or Michael Tannell. Just saying, and all that fun stuff. So streams like this and all the other content that the network provides is made possible with the help of DigitalOcean and Bitwarden. So I want to thank those two sponsors for that. So let's get into it. This particular game is SpellMaster the Saga. This game is roughly equivocal to a Gothic game. So low fantasy, that kind of stuff. Not low fantasy, but fantasy and all the other fun stuff that goes with that. So, it's generically tropey stuff that I'm not a big fan of, but this did interest me because it was developed by two guys. So I wanted to see how this played out. Basically, we're going to be looking at 5 different sections. We're going to be looking at graphics, performance, price, audio, and support. Now, the support section is kind of patches. Are they fixing the game if it's broken? Because a lot of the times we get a lot of the early access issues, and nothing ever gets fixed ever again. So let's see how this performs. And yes, this is being played on Linux. This is being played through Proton. This is a Windows only game currently. The current price is $18.74 according to this, because it's on sale on Steam, but generic price is $24.99. So yeah, let's click the giant play button to see how well this works. Do you know the load speed is mostly because this is external drive, not necessarily the game. I guys get to see that I'm actually running Linux. Well, that's a great first impression. You actually gonna play it? What you doing? There we go. Shader compiling, probably. So the music has been turned off in order to avoid potential copyright strikes and all the other nonsense that goes with live streaming this particular stuff. Uh, so if you're not hearing music or audio this currently, because, well, that's why. I'm not personally a fan of playing games that way, but kind of got to in order to, stupid copyright laws that are archaic at best. Okay, so let's get into this. I always like to go to settings and see what we got for graphics options and all the other stuff. Video. Not a lot of video options. Graphics. Defaults to medium VSync. The system requirements for this should not be that bad, but Lord only knows. So I have not actually looked at the system requirements for this, so I can't actually give you that particular information. This game did just come out. So this came out on the 16th. So it is fairly new. The system requirements minimum are GTX 770 to a GTX 1060. And you can go from a second gen i5 to a third gen i5 for recommended. So it takes about 20 gigs supposedly. That seems a little heavy, but whatever. That's the specs that they're recommending. So take those how you will. This is running on a 11th gen i7, 16 gigs of RAM, running off an external drive, and it's running on a NVIDIA RTX 3050 Ti. All right, so let's get into this and see if this actually works or not, shall we? Because honestly, I have no idea. The graphic settings and whatnot could be a bit better, though, as far as overall, I guess, selections. I mean, you have anti-aliasing, you have low detail, view distance, and all the other stuff. So for me, glad you. Yeah, this is again. I'm gonna be upfront. This key was provided by the actual dev, so just gonna be totally blunt with that. But I'm also gonna be totally honest about it. I'm not a big fan of the lack of really more granular options. Let's put it that way. This does have full gamepad support, so I'm using a PS4 controller. But you can also do keyboard too, apparently. Game. English, Cameron version. We'll go with easy just because I'm only doing impressions of this. Apply. Cloud chat. Go back. Audio. As you can see, the audio is down, unfortunately. Graphics, video. They don't have a lot of options. I do like the fact that they make it so you can contact the developers and make it easy to follow you. That is really cool. So, from what I've seen anyway, they're very proactive with their community as far as like feedback and that kind of stuff. So, all right, let's hit new game. Let's see what the pro con drawback on this is as far as the load times. This is not a like I said, this is a just fairly released game. So I'm curious to see how bad or good these load times will actually be. So not a fan of the load times, I can tell you that right now. Now, again, I'm judging this based on Proton usage, so it could be a pro or a con. But I'm only judging it based off the experience that I'm playing it on. So that's the biggest thing to me. Ooh. Okay, so for those that don't know, this has the the capture should be at 100. The capture is at 60 frames. The system I am playing this on has a monitor of 144 hertz. So what you're seeing, that stuttery mess, is not because of the 144 going to a 60. That is the game. Ooh. Um, Yowzas. So I'm gonna give this a minute to try to, because again, I'm trying to be fair somewhat because this is uh, being run through Proton. So I'm trying to be somewhat fair. But this is a little rough, not gonna lie. I mean, ooh, when they say Gothic inspired, I was hoping they didn't mean performance too, but apparently they did. Because Piranha Bytes' biggest issue has always been game performance. Man, it's, oh. As far as the audio, you guys are gonna have to let me know how the voice acting is because I have the audio turned down locally here, so I'm not fiddling with the audio settings when I, for the most part, have them good. So I'll let you guys determine how they are on stream. Again, no music, copyright stuff. Only reason. So I wonder if this story messes how Dust Geek plays video games in slow motion, frame by frame. Because I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, like I can forgive the character models being a bit rough around the edges, but some of the stuff is cool. How are you gonna handle journaling? The animations are killing me. Like they are not fluid at all. Performances. Whew. I'm not gonna lie, the performance on this is god awful. Alright, battle mode. Right bumper. Left trigger. Yeah, I would love to block the attack, but there's one small problem. Man, the controls are bad. And a lot of it's the lag, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's some cool ideas and stuff in here, but man, these these animations and just the overall performance is god awful. And like, I like the Gothic games for the most part. Like, I'm not a big, well, like Western RPG guy, but I can at least find enough to like in them. But man, and I know a lot of the Gothic games also have performance issues. I know Arcana had tons of them. But I mean, this needs a lot of performance improvements, and I mean a lot. Like I said, I mean, that's just the tutorial. All that jank and stuff, like that unsmooth frame rate, that is totally just the tutorial. That is not encouraging to me. Not at all. And some of these button combinations are just so wildly weird. So like I'm using a PS4 controller. So if I'm using my Xbox controller as an example, on the PS4 it's the share plus the trigger brings up the journal. So that'd be, the share button on here and the trigger, which is it's just weird. I'm not expecting the mapping to be, one to one there. Like that's not what I'm saying. Like, see, some small like that would be, normally kind of cool because it's like, oh, okay, it gets darker as you walk in, and for like an indie game, that's really cool to see. But like, man, pop in, pop in. Oh, well, 1 second. Well, that was yeah, that was interesting. But again, it doesn't change the fact that the performance on this is not good at all. And like for me, there's some really cool like effects and stuff. Like there's stuff to like about this game, but it's ruined by bad performance. Like the only way I can explain it is if anybody remembers multi-platform games for the PS3 and the 360, the 360 was always the better version. But this one is it has to be like a PS3 port of a multi-plat game. And that is not endearing to anybody. So for me, the like I can appreciate the work that went into this. I can appreciate a lot about this game, like this smoke effects and kind of like how it fades in and out in the background, like all that artistic stuff. I can totally appreciate. But man, that that I don't the performance again. I'm trying not to judge it, but solely based on the fact that this is running from a Windows build on a Linux system. But I also have to judge it based on the performance I'm seeing. Resume. Weird glitch, but okay. Okay, now how do you hide your weapons? Okay, there we go. So, hiding that now. Do note there is technically no rating on this game, so I there might be some lingo that I can't really do much about other than give me 1 second to save this. I guess I can end up looking to see how well this does with the saves and stuff. Okay, quick back to menu settings, audio. We're gonna be turning the audio all the way down because bad language. Make sure that's down. Yep. All right, load game, manual save. So yeah, yeah, Damon. Thanks for the playthrough. It was actually on the list of possibilities. I forgot who told me about it. Like, there's some cool stuff in it. Like, I like some of the design stuff, but man, some of the performance I think is gonna kill this game for me. Like, I can't get any enjoyment out of this. Like, usually if something's bad, I can still enjoy it if the performance is halfway decent. But like, this is janky. Like, I'm talking like Risen 2 janky or Vendetta. Uh, what is it? Vendetta Curse of the Raven or whatever, Raven's Cry or whatever it is. Like, I'm talking that kind of janky, which not a great experience. Damon, don't feel bad. I'm stuck on a Vega 64 with 8 gigs, so I totally get it. If you want some other game recommendations that fall into this kind of, I guess, category, I really don't know where to put it. Um, Two Worlds 2 isn't horrible. That's what game this reminds me of. The original Two Worlds. Avoid it at all cost. Don't get it. Uh, get Two Worlds 2. You can usually find that fairly cheap. Uh, Risen 2. They're not terrible games. They're not great games. With a 580, you should be able to play one called Elix, which is ELEX. They have a second one coming out here soon that is more sci-fi and stuff as opposed to this. There's games like the Technomancer, which is pretty low on the requirements. Mars Log, and you also have Greedfall. That should perfectly fall into kind of what you're looking for in that aesthetic, and that kind of runs the gamut as far as one's a Victorian steampunkish steam punk, I guess, kind of vibe, but there's magic and more real world kind of vibe for it. Then you have, more of the sci-fi with Elix, and then you have games like this that are more, piratey and all that stuff. So those are some recommendations. But as far as this particular game, I don't know if I can recommend this particular game. Only because the performance, gonna be 100% honest, is bad. Like, really, really bad. Like, this stuttering is a thing, and not a good thing. So I don't know what the issue is, but the stuttering is definitely a turnoff for me. Um, I commend the fact that this is a two-person developed game, but I also have to be real and say what things are and what they are. And performance kills this game. At 1874, I can't recommend it. At 25, I definitely can't recommend it. Uh, maybe a year from now, I might be able to. Maybe 6 months from now, maybe 2 months from now. Who knows? It all depends on how fast the developers work to fix things, and that's all you can really do. So for me, and this is me not having any financial attachment to it, um, because I was given a key by the developer for this. I can't recommend it. Like I can't state that enough. Simply based on these first few impressions of like the first 20 minutes of me playing this. And I'm not saying the story's bad. I'm not saying all the work that went into this is bad. I'm just saying, like, as a product, like, performance is one of those things that gamers care about. And when you can't even run seemingly a stable 30 frames on a halfway decent system that more than meets your over your minimum, barring the GPU, which you can debate whether or not it is going to, be in that 1060 category, but the performance on this is just not ideal. Like combat's just sluggish because of it. Like, this is one of those games I really want to like, but it is really, really hard. Like right now, I can't. Nope, camera's stuck. Like the camera was stuck. Um, for performance, no, it's bad. Uh, Price, can't recommend it at the price it's at. Too much work is going to be needed to go into fixing this, like legitly. I mean, that, as you can see, like just in that instance, total total camera got stuck. Oh, dead. Awesome. Okay, so there's problems there, and I don't know really what to do with that. Oh, okay. Yeah. Gaming is a all-encompassing thing. So I will say gaming is like Linux. Keep an open mind because you will find stuff that you didn't think you liked. I know for me, I found games that I never thought I'd like. I've never been a big like retro 16-bit style game, Super Nintendo type gamer. But one of my favorite games is like a 16-bit design cyberpunk open world game, which is called Dex, and you can usually find that for like $1 online. Like it's mad cheap. Um, but as far as this, I'm gonna say avoid it. The audio, I have no idea because again, I'm not listening to the audio. Just I'm not in the mood to reroute all my audio stuff, to be really blunt about it. Call me lazy. Uh, so there's that. Uh, Now the thing with this game is there does seem to be some movement on the developer fixing the performance. I hope, because uh so this came out on the 16th. As you can see, I added it on the 16th. On the 17th, they talked about what they're looking to do. Dear players, we have carefully reviewed your feedback and announced the upcoming updates. Will include performance, detailed graphic settings, including disabling motion blur, anti-aliasing, and more, key remapping, font size, correction of the problem of kicking on the gamepad. This is what we're focusing on right now. Some of these improvements will be available at the end of the week. To their credit, and this is the credit part I want to give. They put out an update with not 2 days later, performance improvements after the protection of the wherever the bed is available for sleeping, disable motion blur, chromatic aberration, settings divided by type, added detailed graphic settings, implemented font resizing, fixed stuck-in textures, and fixed issues with kicking. Performance is still an issue. Again, I'm only stating that based on what I'm seeing from on my play of Linux. Will I try this on a Windows system? I don't know. I might, but really, for me, the performance kills this game. Because these games have to be fluid enough for combat not to make you feel like a slideshow or beating your head against the wall. Because honestly, the combat it's combo based from what I can tell, and it's timing based. So if you're having a slideshow, that's not a great indication of what the game is going to be like. So I'm using the latest Proton G, so I'm using that. There's a ton of other stuff that I'm using in the background, game mode and all the other stuff. I'm running on the Garuda specific Linux for gamers and all the other stuff. So it's not like I'm not doing what I need to keep that where it should be. But to the developers, I would highly recommend keep improving your game. You have the Steam Deck coming out relatively shortly. So I would highly recommend optimizing this because this is the type of game, personally, for me, that I would like to see on a Steam Deck. But I can't make those recommendations simply based on the fact that this is what I'd like to see, when in the reality is what I'm experiencing is far, far worse. And that to me is a bigger problem. So that's kind of my rant slash take on this game so far. Like I said, I'll probably try it on a Windows system, but I highly doubt it. I very much take a console gamer mentality when it comes to PC gaming. So props on the developers. First impressions, I'm just on a scale, I'm just gonna go say not great. Because you have bad, not great, good, or sorry, decent, good, awesome. Mine's like not great, so mine's like on that lower bottom tier. It could be good if it's fixed. And that's where the game kind of sits right now, unfortunately. And also, Ryan, Michael, I'm still a better gamer than you. So Damon, what kind of games are you like looking to explore? So this is kind of the QA end of it, community interaction and stuff. What kind of games are you looking to explore? Like what's on your list of possibilities, as you put it? You can totally so you are taking you're taking the distro hopper mentality when it comes to gaming, in other words. Um, I'm assuming Linux. I'm just gonna take a wild guess. I'm guessing that Linux, Steam, mostly. Yeah, the like A Black Worm's going on. Though I don't know who this dark one is you speak of, FYI. So I can give you an entire list of games that have been recommended. I do keep track of the ones that I recommend on Linux Out Loud, or as previously known as DLN Extend. So I do have a prior list of games that are already mentioned, so that way I don't repeat them. So I guess my question is it just the gaming experience as a whole that interests you, or is there, some people like to focus on story, some people like the gameplay, some people like graphics, some people like that kind of stuff. Like, is there an element that you prefer when it comes to your gaming? Not so much genre, but elements, like in the games that you have played, because that's really the tell for whether or not you'll enjoy something or not when somebody recommends something. And anybody that's knowledgeable in the stuff should be at least recommending stuff that is at least has elements that you might like. It might be something in a totally different genre, whatever, but like if it's something that interests you, like, for me, I'm more of a I'm story focused, but like anime and that kind of stuff, like that vibe works for me more. Again, I'm more of a JRPG guy, story and gameplay. Okay, so story and gameplay. Uh, all depends on the game, but let me throw some games at you. Um, I'm assuming you don't have consoles or anything. I just want to make sure before I make any game recommendations based off that. Gaming in general. Okay. Well, no, there's a reason I asked about consoles because they do have their, I guess, advocates for the most part. But okay, so you want story and gameplay games. If you These are going to be kind of hard because some of them are lean one way more than the other. Um, if you want story and gameplay, the Metro series. So there's 3 games in this. There's Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, and Metro Exodus. They're all available on Steam. Those are a good element of gameplay and story because the gameplay incorporates in the story and the story follows the gameplay pattern, so it just works better. There's that one. Um, if you're looking for atmospheric in those kind of games, the story's a little hard to piece together, but there's one called Get Even that is very I guess atmospheric's the only way to really describe it. It's a little surreal. You kind of got to play it to understand how to play it. Another game that if you just want like a interactive story is the best way to really put it. The one that I'm gonna recommend is one called Beyond Two Souls. Now some of these are gonna be a little pricier, others not, and whatnot. If you want a game that is strictly exploration and gameplay, there's a game called Skybreak, which is Linux native, and it is usually you can find it fairly cheap, and it's a fun little game. Don't expect a lot out of it, but it's fun. So for those that just joined the stream, the short version for SpellMaster the Saga. Uh, it needs a lot of fixing, so it's fallen into the not great category right now. Which, for those that want to know the rating system, is bad, not great, decent, good, awesome. It's almost at the bottom of being bad. So it's like the performance is horrid. So I'm not knocking the game down to bad because the developers, at least from the notes that they've released, have made it look like they are at least attempting to improve the game with support. So I'm not gonna knock it totally, but it's not a great game. They literally copied everything from Gothic, including the performance, which Piranha Bytes has been known to not be great with. All right, and probably one other game that I would recommend is, well, there's a couple, but because you're Linux only, I gotta kind of temper those recommendations. Uh, a nice little one that is a little different is one. Christ, what is the name of that? Silence. It's like a point and click adventure game, but like it's a 3D point and click adventure game. Blackworm, are you playing that on PS4, 5 Pro, PS4 Pro? Just out of curiosity. Because I mean, I sure as heck can't afford a PS5. Took me long enough to find an Xbox Series X. You're one of the lucky ones then. I mean, I really can't say much because I mean, I do have the uh, Halo Infinite edition of the Xbox Series X. So I can't say I'm like hurting, but there are some Sony exclusives that they're still still nice to have. Oh, don't worry, we got plenty of game recommendations. Um, Another one, like I said, there's a ton that I can recommend, but those are probably the only ones I'd recommend at the moment, just because I don't want to overload you. And there's a ton of prior recommendations on from Extend or Linux Out Loud. Eventually, I might end up publishing that list eventually, just so somebody else can maybe keep up with it because I tend to forget after a few weeks. Like, I'll go like 4 or 6 episodes and I was like, oh, I gotta go back and remember what games I recommended, so I don't recommend them again. But yeah, so it's definitely fun to see how other people game as opposed to people who are in it all the time, namely people like me and or people like Blackworm here who are always in it. Oh, one other game. If you want a combination of classic literature with a video game, I would totally recommend Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter. It's a 3D point and click adventure game. So if you're into escapist fiction, that will definitely be escapist fiction for you. And it's like classic literature come to life. So there's that series of games too. Um, there's, I believe, three that I would recommend. One is Sherlock Holmes Chapter One, The Devil's Daughter, and I Crimes and Punishment, I think, is the last one, or the other one that I would recommend. I can't remember what the one before Devil's Daughter was, but those are be the three that I would recommend if you want to go Victorian England route with stuff. But I think we will slowly be winding down this live stream. I'm gonna be only probably doing these for about an hour, give or take, just to have some community interaction. The community gets to vote on all these games that I'm either gonna subjugate myself to playing, even if they're genres I don't care for, or I'm gonna have, like, community game nights and stuff for some multiplayer games. It's all really up to you guys, because this is our way of having some fun on the network, giving you guys some say on the content, which I think is really important. And at the end of the day, that's really what matters. Actually, Blackworm, one of the games I am dying to play. um, One of the games I am dying to play on the deck is actually my favorite game, one of my favorite games, period. And that is Dex, and the other game is Tales of Berseria. Those are the two games that I'm like, I want to play on deck. I'm a big JRPG guy, and everybody knows it, so I'm not even fronting on that one. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Steam Deck. Definitely. I know I can't wait until the 25th, man. That Friday, I'm hoping I get that email pretty dang soon. And one other thing I will say is, ironically, I got the Halo Infinite Edition of the Xbox Series X. I'm not a Halo fan. And Damon, send me an email on the contact form for what used to be Extend. I believe it's dlextend.com/contact. And I might have some game codes and stuff that I can send your way, that for games that you might like. I used to help run a video game website, so I got a lot of this stuff tucked away in the back that I haven't used for many years. Hey, Wendy, you're tuning in as we're tuning down. And Damon, you can blame Wendy for some of those game purchases. I'm not at fault for that particular one. Wendy, it's your fault. You're an enabler on this one, not just me. I don't know what you're talking about, Wendy. I never have had you guys buy games while we were doing recording, ever. I don't know. Damon didn't tell me exactly what games. I'm just telling you that it's also your fault. Ha ha. So I'm only like 60% to blame. Oh shit! Shoot! 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 Go back. When isn't YouTube bugging? So see when you enable as much as I do. Oh, and Kodia. Ha! That was totally you, Wendy. Totally. I'm talking about in Damon's case, Wendy, not anything else. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for joining. Appreciate the conversation as always. You can catch these particular live streams every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard for GameSphere. You guys decide on those games. You guys decide on which ones I'll potentially be tortured with. And this is all just for fun. This is what we're here for. So, also, make sure you subscribe to the GameSphere YouTube channel where these particular live streams will be re-uploaded to the, where these particular episodes will be reloaded up to in their entirety to YouTube for people to watch and just enjoy the content for what it is. It's unedited and all the other stuff. So it's just a total way to have fun with the community. Magneto is playing Wingman on VR right now. Wendy, because it's Magneto, I'm surprised the Vive is still working. And on that note, I'm going to end.